Hello everyone and welcome to Pro Tour Nagoya 2011 with me, Pro Tour statistician Rich Hagon, and him, Pro Tour historian Mr. Brian David-Marshall. We are super excited for Pro Tour 2 of the 2011 season. It is block constructed weekend, but that's not all. BDM, tell the guys and girls at home all about the format.
Well, we're going to start off tomorrow with 5 rounds of block constructed, followed by 3 rounds of draft. That's going to be opening up a pack of new Phyrexia, opening up a pack of Mirrodin Besieged, and then opening up a pack of Scars of Mirrodin. We're going to do that one more time on Saturday. We're going to have 5 more rounds of block constructed, and then the top 8 is going to be one of the events I look forward to so much every year. Yeah. The top 8 is going to be limited. So it's going to be a booster draft again, and we're going to see the best players in the game tackling the 40-card format.
So this is similar to Honolulu 2009 and Pro Tour San Juan 2010. It's that Pro Tour.
Exactly, and we've seen some great champions come out of those formats. We've seen some great decks and some great drafting.
Kazuya Mitamura, Paula Vida Dama de Rosa, the last 2 there.
Absolutely.
So we've got 8 players to showcase for you, and we've chosen completely at random the top 8 in the Player of the Year race. So let's get to it, and we begin with, here he is, Lukas Blahon of the Czech Republic. There he is. Now, Worlds 2009, he was on their team, had a Grand Prix top 8 in 2010, and he's just come off a 2nd place finish at Grand Prix Prague, his home Grand Prix. Had a tremendous run there. He's part of the Channel Fireball squad. He's one of the guys that you don't necessarily know a lot about. I know, BDM, you think this could be his time.
He has all the hallmarks that we saw, a few years ago from Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa, and then a couple years later from Martin Yuza, where he's just continually getting strong finishes on the Pro Tour, strong finishes at Grand Prix, and you really feel like when he's sort of in the midst of all these other great players and has this network of terrific decks and that sort of competitive camaraderie where people are always pushing each other to one-up each other, that he seems to me poised for a really great run down the stretch of this year.
Okay, another Czech player is next. Here it is, Martin Yuza of the Czech Republic.
Martin Yuza is a player that people are a little terrified of right now. Martin's always been one of the game's absolute best players. And we've seen him time and time again do really well, but there's been this tendency over the past couple of seasons where he's played perhaps not the best collection of 75 cards in constructed formats.
Sort of Lewis Scott Vargas from 2007, 2006 kind of thing.
Absolutely. And now he's recently said, oh, wait, I'm playing Standard. Maybe I should be playing Callblade. Oh, I'm playing...
That's good in Standard right now, is it?
Let me tell you, we'll talk about that in another segment. There's this deck called Callblade that's it's pretty good. I think it might do big things.
Okay, good to know.
Martin played that deck, and he's like, why haven't I been playing the best deck? And he's like, when I went on that tremendous run through all those Grand Prix where I was continually top 16ing and top 8ing, I was playing Fairies, and I'm better than everybody else.
Yep.
Right? I'm very good at this game, so if I play the best deck and I'm better, then I have the best chance to win. And he's going to do that for the remainder of the constructed events this year. Kind of a terrifying prospect. Okay,
let's take you next to Japan, Shota Yasuoka. Now he is the 2006 Player of the Year. Okay, an amazing player. He won Grand Prix Kobe this year. He's got 13 Grand Prix top 8s, a team Pro Tour title from Charleston in 2006. Just a tremendous player, and someone who we don't see as much of as we'd like because he's very, very busy away from the game. But when he turns up, he plays for keeps.
He's coming off a top 8 last weekend in Singapore.
Yep,
where
that's
he played a really interesting...
it was the blue-black
deck with main deck Torpor Orbs.
Oh my.
4 main deck Torpor Orbs to shut down Stoneforge Mystics and Squadron Hawks, and, very exciting player. Well, I mean, very controlling player.
Yeah, very exciting control player. Yeah, all right.
There we go.
More Japan is next. We have Shuhei Nakamura. So 2008 player, the BDM.
Right, you and I had a little bit of a, we did actually pull this list somewhat at random.
Yeah.
It just happened to end up overlapping.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot. I mean, you had some reservations about Shuhei initially.
I mean, you see Shuhei, who has so many top 8s, but not for a while. And particularly the Pro Tour, I think Hollywood 2008 is his last Pro Tour top 8. And he's still going around everywhere, but he's almost like Olivier Ruel was when you stopped fearing him. You still knew he was really good, but there were sort of 4 people that you would rather avoid playing. And if you got Shuhei, you went, oh wow, I got the 2008 Player of the Year Shuhei Nakamura. I'll give him a good,
Sure. And yet, here we are, poised to end, to come to the conclusion of the halfway mark of the season, and he's in 5th place in the Player of the Year race, and still has every conceivable event. If you told him there was pro points at Friday Night Magic, he'd be there. He might be there anyway.
I was going to say, he's at Friday Night Magic anyway.
He would be there, with bells on it, and I would not be. Would you be at all surprised to see him repeat as Player of the Year? You'd be surprised.
I'd be surprised. I actually would.
He's always in the money. He's always top 16. He's always playing on the top tables.
Yes.
And you get a run of a couple of events together, like we saw with Yuya Watanabe. You get hot for a few weeks. You find the right deck. You find the right kind of mindset. I think he can make another run.
Up we go. Next, Paul Rietzl of the United States, the Amsterdam 2010 champion, 3rd at Honolulu in 2009, and then what an unbelievable Paris Magic weekend he had, 2nd in the Pro Tour, but the guy, certifiably insane.
Yes.
Played the Grand Prix as well, and we had him on feature, the first time we've ever shown live Grand Prix in the Top 8 arena. It was fantastic. The guy was just a machine that weekend. Spectacular.
And this weekend, if the early reports of the block constructed format are to be believed, which has a lot of Tempered Steel decks, a lot of White Weenie decks, Shrine of Loyal Legions, these all seem to be the kind of cards that Paul is very, very adept at playing with. He talked about in the wake of Pro Tour Paris, he talked about as a Magic player, you specialize. Especially someone like him who has a full-time job, and maybe he can't play in as many events as he would like. He's like, you look and you say, am I a control player? Am I a combo player? Or am I a player who attacks with little red and white guys? And he said, I am that guy, the 3rd one.
The spirit of Mike Turian.
Yeah, and I am going to be the best at attacking with small creatures. So, the Tempered Steel deck is supposed to be very good. I feel like this has got to be a great event for Paul Rietzl.
Well,
watch him show up and play Consecrated Sphinx.
Obviously. Well, next up, we have Paulo Vida Dama de Rosa of Brazil. And what's interesting here, another specialist who's gone down the line of playing fairies for a year and event after event and saying, I'm the best at this, and that means I'm going to do better than most of you. I know you think he's a real contender for Player of the Year again.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
I mean, he was a match away from being the Player of the Year last year. If he wins his match in the top 8, he's the Player of the Year. Not Brad, not Guillaume. It's Paulo. Interesting thing about Paulo is he becomes eligible for the Hall of Fame next year. He is eligible for the Hall of Fame in 2012. He is about to crack the 300 pro points in his career mark.
Yeah, because he got 10 this past weekend in Singapore, so that takes him to 295. So it's a very good bet that this weekend he will crack the 300. I believe everyone over 300 pretty much is in the Hall of Fame. It's a pretty good sort of benchmark, isn't it?
Absolutely. And he might be the youngest to 300.
Oh, for sure. I think that's definitely true. That's definitely true.
And by the way, he just won a Grand Prix last weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So
just by the by, right?
In form, we could say. So all that's left for him is like finishing 4th and 7th at a PT. I think that's all that's left for him in the game. Let's give you Ben Stark next, 34 points, the champion of the first Pro Tour, the man who's looking to go back to back. Now, this is the bullet dodge. For the rest of the field, if Ben Stark has an okay weekend, makes day 2, gets half a dozen pro points, that's fine. They can catch up through Grand Prix. If Ben Stark repeats a top 8, heaven forbid, goes and wins the whole thing again, suddenly another 16, 20, 25 points, wow, he is over the horizon and gone almost.
And when you talk about a limited top 8, that if you're sitting Ben Stark down at that table, 25 points is very well within his reach.
Yeah, I think you would make the case that he would be favourite pretty much in any top 8 this weekend.
Yeah,
if he's
absolutely.
there, you would think that. But who leads the Player of the Year race? Let's take a look. Owen Turtenwald of the United States, 36 points. What a great story.
This is amazing. This is a guy who has yet to have that Pro Tour top 8. He does not have one in his career yet, but he's in very, very rare territory right now. He has played in 5 Grand Prix this year. He has top 8'd 5 Grand Prix this year.
How many has he played in?
5.
How many has he top 8'd?
5.
Okay, that's quite good.
He's got a top 16 in Rome.
Paris. Yeah, yeah.
Paris, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
yes.
that was his worst event of the year.
His worst event of the year is
12th.
is 12th place in Paris.
Yeah. That's
So,
how you get to be player of the year.
And he
by the way.
just unseated Ben Stark as the front runner in the race by making the top 8 in yet another event.
Yeah, and you and I, we had dinner with Owen and a bunch of guys at GP Oakland, start of last year. And there's this thing of, can you imagine yourself, just at home, close your eyes for a minute and imagine yourself holding the Pro Tour trophy. Now, honestly in your heart of hearts, do you see it? Do you? Well, 18 months ago, Owen Turtenbaum didn't see himself holding the trophy.
He laughed at the notion, actually, when we talked about it.
Yeah. Now, he sees it. And you know what? 2 days from now, we might all see it.
Yeah, and the people around him see it too. They see someone who's really been transformed. Again, we talked about that earlier with Lucas Bluhan, as the idea of that as you're around these better players, and everybody gets lifted up in that process.
Yeah, and we've spoken to Owen on the podcast already, and he was saying it is just being surrounded by the best. They make you raise your game, and you just can't play the same old magic anymore and expect to win. He now expects to win. We will see if he does. 8 great players. There are many more in the building. Join us all weekend long for coverage from Magic Weekend here at Pro Tour Nagoya. For Brian David-Marshall, I'm your host Richard Hagon, saying bye.